Let's
from
jump
there.
right into our first question this week from Gordon on ATP. He says, do you deal with or see anybody taking the new ATP supplements, Peak ATP? I have seen them as a pre-workout supplement and also for use with chronic fatigue patients. They also use NADH as an ATP precursor. Thanks.
Yeah, you know, man, there's a lot of interesting stuff around this. So different metabolic issues that folks develop, like the shifting of the NADH ratios is kind of indicative of kind of the cellular machinery almost kind of like grinding down, like they're not producing the same levels of energy that they once did. Interestingly, ketogenic diets seem to help that. Fasting to some degree seems to help kind of reset that whole process. Chris Masterjohn has a great piece talking about how you don't necessarily want to just throw like some of these NAD products down the pie hole, because it's all part of an overall process, and just supplementing one particular item doesn't always address things. There's not a ton of research. Like I poked around examine.com, a couple of other places trying to get a sense of if they've really vetted this stuff out. There's not a ton of material on that. And so in this kind of like precursor energy story, I would still kind of default to just cheap, good, well-researched creatine monohydrate as a beneficial item to use. Even if somebody's a non-responder where they don't really get the performance boost with creatine monohydrate, there's great examples of it improving lipid levels, of it being neuroprotective under hypoxic scenarios. And so I could be really comfortable recommending something like creatine monohydrate. Some of this other stuff, like the Peak ATP, is basically, they're providing ATP, and I don't know if it's really going to help that much. I don't know if the ATP survives going through the gut and then gets put back together on the other side of the gut lumen. Does all that stuff get used by like microbes in the gut? Like there's just a lot of different layers to that. So I have very little experience with it. I think it's very early in the story. I think that people are largely chasing symptoms, trying to address symptoms instead of underlying issue.
Okay.